Welcome to Perfectville, your first place podcast for your third place Miami Dolphins, part of the BLEAV network, presented by Fanduel. I am Sam Marcoux, and it is week 5. Can you believe it? Ladies and gentlemen, citizens of Perfectville, we're already a quarter of the way through the 2025 season. The Miami Dolphins are 1-3. The Miami Dolphins are without Tyreek Hill for the rest of the season. The Miami Dolphins are in third place, as we talked about at the very tippy top of the show. Yet somehow, some way, there appears to be some optimism in the town of Perfectville, at least from me, yours truly, your humble host, Mr. Sam Marcoux. That's because the Miami Dolphins are coming off of a win against the New York Jets on Monday night, now going to the Carolina Panthers. On the road, short week, usually a recipe for disaster for the home. Well, for our squad anyway, but I don't feel that way. That's because the Carolina Panthers aren't very good. That's because the Carolina Panthers can't stop the run, aren't very good against the pass because everyone's running against them, so we don't really have good data about that. Offensively, they're without some of their good players, might be coming back in this game, might not. Bryce Young is a very quarterback at this point. Their offensive line is a mess with injuries. Some players are good, others are awful. It feels like the type of game that the Miami Dolphins should be able to come in, and as long as they show up and focus, they don't have to do anything fancy. They don't have to have a lot of turnovers. They don't have to do long bombs. They just have to show up and play fundamental football, and the Miami Dolphins could and should walk out of this away game 2-3. Simple as that. It feels as simple as that. When I look at the stats, when I look at the advanced metrics of the Carolina Panthers, I'm not impressed. Granted, I'm not impressed with the Miami Dolphins either, but as we talked about on that post-game show yesterday, the Miami Dolphins are getting better. They're incrementally better week after week. They're starting to figure it out. They're kind of going through this weird football puberty phase on defense where they went from not being able to stop anybody, quite literally, week 1 against the Colts, to getting 2 turnovers plus another one on special teams that they converted into 14 points offensively. That's complimentary football. Tua Tagovailoa, easy for me to say, looked good in the pocket against the Jets. He looked good on some design rollouts to the left against the Jets. I'd like to see more of that against these Carolina Panthers. This defense for the Carolina Panthers is not one that's had a lot of testing through the air. And that's because they haven't been very good at stopping the run. And if you're the Miami Dolphins and you look at this offensive line and you look at where we're at without having Tyreek Hill, like we talked about yesterday, it's a little bit of money ball that needs to go on here. We're going to have to spread the love to the Jalen Waddles, to the Malik Washingtons, to the Devon Achans, to the Ollie Gordons, Darren Waller, you name it. If they're on the team, they're going to have to pick up the slack. I think this game for the Miami Dolphins is going to be an interesting one because it's going to be a game that Mike McDaniel is going to have to put his coaching hat on. He's going to have to game plan without Tyreek Hill. The Tyreek Hill vortex is no more. So what is it that Mike McDaniel can do to generate offense, to generate yardage, and to get points into the end zone on offense? And I think the key, of course, is going to be running the ball against a defense that doesn't do very good against that run. So I think you're going to see a lot of Devon Achane early. I think you're going to see a little of Jalen Wright. Remember that guy? The OG backup complimentary piece to Devon Achane. I think you're going to see a 3-headed monster in this game, possibly a 3.5 to 4-headed monster, depending on how they want to use Malik Washington in the run game as well. But I think you're going to see Devon Achane to the left, Devon Achane to the right. I think you'll see tosses to the outside. You'll see Ollie Gordon trying to get that short yardage and get themselves 3, 4, 5 yards as he falls forward. I think you'll see Jalen Wright in this game. I think it's going to be a run-heavy, run-centric offense post Tyreek Hill, especially this first week. They're going to have to figure this all out. But I do think Jalen Waddle will be in the game plan, obviously. And if you look at the defense for the Carolina Panthers, it looks like they're pretty good. I think they're a top 10 technically defense against the pass in terms of yardage. That's because everybody's running on them. Especially when they get late, there's no reason for offenses to throw against this team. So I think as long as the Miami Dolphins don't shoot themselves in the foot, as long as they don't give the ball over to the Panthers unnecessarily, I think you can absorb a turnover, maybe even 2, against this Panthers team. Not that I'm encouraging it, not that I want them to, mind you. I just think they can, because the talent disparity is so bad between the Panthers defense and the Dolphins offense, even without Tyreek Hill, that you could. But if the Miami Dolphins can mitigate, just like they did against the Jets and kind of did against the Buffalo Bills, the amount of turnovers, if they just go out and play with the talent that they have, focus on the run game. This offensive line, much better in run blocking than pass blocking. Stats prove it. Tape proves it. Everything proves that. So focus, double down on your run game against the bad Carolina Panthers defense that can't stop the run. And I think you'll be just fine. That'll control the clock. That'll control the ball, mitigate potential disasters in the pass game, and get out there and score some points. But I like what I've seen out of the Miami Dolphins offense the last 2 weeks. You know, the over the top, go get 40 yards, maybe get a home run strike. That's always fun. It's flashy. I'll take it if it happens. But I feel like the Miami Dolphins are going to do better as they get into that rhythm, right? Tua seems like he does better as he gets into a rhythm. He gets a 5-yard pass here, a 10-yard pass there, 15-yard pass over there, hands the ball off, turns and tosses the ball to Malik Washington on a jet sweep. And all of a sudden, boom, he's in a rhythm. He's feeling good. He feels confident. His feet are set. He's throwing lasers. He's throwing darts. He's throwing it through a keyhole, as the phrase goes. And all of a sudden, the Miami Dolphins, you look up and they're up by 2 scores. So this should be a game that the Miami Dolphins control. That's the word. That's the word of the day for this. Control. The Miami Dolphins should be able to control the outcome of this game, both offensively and defensively, quite frankly. Because when I look on the other side of this, the problem child for the Miami Dolphins, this defense, especially this front seven, hasn't looked good. Admittedly, I fell into the hype that I thought this was going to be the savior of the Miami Dolphins season early, which is going to be this front seven, while the back end is protected. And of course, the offense follows along. No, that hasn't been the case. The defensive backfield, shout out to the old guys. Jack Jones, creating game-changing plays against the Jets. Good coverage against the Jets. Rasul Douglas, getting sacks, knocking the ball down. The veteran corners have been outstanding for the Miami Dolphins early. It's the front seven, specifically the defensive line, that's been a problem for the Miami Dolphins. All this depth, all of this investment of money and human resources into this line, and it has not paid off early. But we'll see if they can get right against a kind of a vanilla, bland Carolina Panthers team that has their own injuries, by the way. I mean, Chuba Hubbard doesn't look 100%. He hasn't practiced so far this week. Xavier Leggett is coming off of an injury, so we'll see how he looks. Coker doesn't look like he's going to be playing quite yet. The tight ends and that rookie McMillan, they're doing okay, but just okay. Bryce Young doesn't look anything special to me. He's got a QB rating in the 70s. He's creating 60. He's completing 60% of his passes. That's okay. That's fine. But he's not doing anything that's moving the needle. So I think the Miami Dolphins in this game could do a lot of what they did against the Jets with hopefully a little bit more success of just rush 4, keep everybody else back, and the Panthers aren't going to beat you. You know, if they want to try to get a little fancy with it, they want to try to get right and get a couple of additional sacks, okay, fine. You can try that. There is a margin of error for the Miami Dolphins on defense if they have to go out and be aggressive, be violent, as Anthony Weaver says. If they are overly aggressive, they might get burned. It's possible. They are NFL caliber players on that side, at least a few of them. And you can overcome that with a game plan on offense. But that margin of error is minimal, right? I mean, it's a little bit. And if the Panthers were anybody other than the Panthers, I would say there is no fucking around here. But when I look at this game, even on Fanduel, if you go on Fanduel right now, check out the sports book, you can take a look at not just the Miami Dolphins against the Carolina Panthers, not just the money line, the spread, and as well as, the over-under, but you can take a look at all the different props. We'll talk about a lot of those before too long, but you can take a look at every single game that's out there in the NFL. You can take a look at the Major League Baseball playoffs. My Dodgers just swept the Reds. They're going to Philly for the divisional series of the National League. NBA starting up, NHL starting up. Check it out, FanDuel Sportsbook. When I took a look at this game, the Miami Dolphins are favored on the road by 1.5 against the Carolina Panthers team. What does that mean? That means everybody's seeing this game kind of the way I am. That the Miami Dolphins, despite all their flaws, the Miami Dolphins, despite not having Tyreek Hill, are still a better team than the home team, the Carolina Panthers. The over-under is 44.5, same as that Jets-Dolphins game. I don't know that I'm taking the over in this particular game. This might be one of those times where, as much as I hate betting the under might be the smart play here. But we're going to dive a little bit deeper into the Fanduel sports lines before too long. Coming up, I got a special guest on this very episode, a very special episode. I've got a special guest who knows a thing or two about the Carolinas, who knows a thing or two about the Panthers, who understands the culture of the Miami Dolphins, and more importantly, he understands the culture of the town of Perfectville with your boy, Sam Marcoux. So I'm not going to spoil it quite yet, but he's going to be joining us. Oh, there's a clue. He's going to be joining us to talk a little bit more about the Carolina Panthers, talk a whole lot more about the Miami Dolphins, and what this team has to do to be successful in North Carolina, in Charlotte, and walk out of there after Sunday night 2-3, and potentially, at least record-wise, tied for second place in the AFC East, assuming, of course, that the Patriots lose to the Bills. Not sure who I want to win that game. I think I'm rooting for the Patriots, weirdly enough. Mainly because I want to see the Bills lose. But I think the Bills are going to win that game. The Bills can be had. They are not an undefeated team. I looked at the record, I looked at their schedule, and I went, nobody's beaten the Bills this year. And then I watched them play against the Dolphins, and then I watched them play against the Saints, and I went, somebody's beating the Bills this year. Just a matter of who, just a matter of when. So I think I'm rooting for the Patriots just because that would make me point and laugh. I would point and laugh if that were the case. Josh Allen actually hasn't done tremendously well against the Patriots the way he has against the Miami Dolphins. Now, granted, part of that is because of Tom Brady and Bill Belichick, but still, be interesting to see that game, an AFC East clash. But coming up, I'm going to take a quick break, and coming up after the break, I'm going to be joined by a special guest. Somebody's going to be joining us here in the town of Perfectville. So stay tuned. We'll go pay some bills. We'll be back right after these words. All right, welcome back. Sam Marcoux, town of Perfectville, BLEAV Network, presented by Fanduel. And I told you before the break, ladies and gentlemen, citizens of Perfectville, I had a special guest, a rare expert, dare I say, doctor. Of course, I'm talking about the two-time Hall of Famer, the good doctor himself, back in the saddle again, Dr. Christopher Cullen. Doctor, how in the hell are you, my friend?
I'm doing great, man. Thanks for getting this together and texting me to get on the show, man.
Yeah, there's a lot of rumors. I don't know if you know this because, truth be told, you and I have not spoken a lot in the last month, and there's nothing nefarious going on. Everyone's just busy. I've been trying to hold down the fort by myself as you start a new chapter of your life, as well as supporting your son through his senior year of high school football and everything that goes with that. I mean, people forget that Chris is a grandfather. There's so much stuff that goes on in Chris's life that, I do a couple of shows without you. I have a couple of guest hosts because I'm trying to, keep the show going while all this is going on, while life is happening. And it came across my desk, so to speak, Chris, that there were some rumors. There were some people actually taking action, our listeners, citizens, as to what was truly going on. They think there's some deep state secret that I am holding from everybody. So just so you know, there are rumors out there that you were fired from the show because you were arrested.
Oh, okay.
Have you been arrested in the last month?
I've never been arrested, actually, at all. Never.
So we'll put that one to rest. There were some rumors that you were gravely ill, possibly dead, and that I'm just keeping that from everyone. Are you gravely ill and or possibly dead?
I know I'm not ill. I'm not sure if I'm possibly dead. It was a rough day at the office today. see if I get through these segments.
Yeah, so just so everyone is aware, Chris is not fired from the show. This is Chris's show as much as it is mine. He's a busy guy, and sometimes the schedules, especially the first part of this year, didn't line up for Chris and I to do the show together. So, as a humble servant of this town of Perfectville, I was bringing on guests and I was doing a lot of solo shows, which is always terrible. So I appreciate everyone for allowing me to do that, and for all those people that listened and watched on YouTube and everything else. But Chris is just fine. He's rocking an amazing hat right there. It's October. We're heading into week 5. The expert, the feet on the ground, the boots on the ground. He's going to be at the game that we were just talking about, the Miami Dolphins against the Carolina Panthers. He's here, ladies and gentlemen. There's nothing crazy going on. Now, is he bad at fantasy football and the okayest fantasy league ever? Yes, he's pretty bad, but that's just because Chris is bad at fantasy football. There's nothing nefarious going on. He's just awful at it. So, all of that aside, Chris, welcome back to the show. Welcome back to the show that you helped create. Let's talk about, well, first of all, let's talk about.
Can I actually interject?
Yes.
I think you lost your luster. The fact that fans would think you'd fire me because I got arrested, that's not the Sam Marcoux I know. In fact, you'd probably double down and have me come on with some like striped pajamas and like, chains around my ankles and, live from house arrest. You would buy in. These people don't even know who you are.
I blew it. That you're right. That should have been an opportunity. I should have leaned into it. The people that gave me this information, I should have said, wow, I can't believe you guys figured this out, and just kind of ran with it, and then called you on the side and said, this is what we're going to do. You're 100% right. Even though you haven't been on the show for a month, I'm rusty. So I blew it. I apologize to Chris because that would have been a great bit, but you're absolutely right. We should have had you dress up like a convict and just came up with some wild, crazy story about how you hit Tyreek Hill in the kneecap with a baton, a la Tanya Harding, and that's why he actually no longer has a leg. But no, we didn't do any of that. We were
Pee Wee Herman at the MTV Movie Awards. He's like, "Hear any good jokes lately?" After he got arrested for jerking off in a theater. Yeah, like one of those.
Now, that's a guy who Pee Wee Herman was arrested, and Pee Wee Herman is dead. I mean, that's the guy. Yeah. Maybe they thought you were Pee Wee Herman. I have no idea.
I had a Pee Wee's Playhouse as a kid. Like, love Pee Wee.
Yeah. Well, let's talk about the Dolphins in general before we get actually into this specific matchup, because you and I mean, we're friends, but we haven't really talked a lot through this first part of the season. We're a quarter of the way through the season. The Miami Dolphins are 1-3, obviously beat the Jets on Monday night, but did not look good against the Colts, did not look good against the Patriots, blew it against the Bills. They had an opportunity late. It didn't quite work out. What are your overall thoughts? Obviously, now we do not have Tyreek Hill for the rest of the season, maybe ever. This might have been the last game you ever see Tyreek Hill in a Miami Dolphins uniform playing in. What are your thoughts on the Miami Dolphins in 2025 so far?
Disappointing. Really just one of those teams where you hoped could fight for a wild card, but they looked abysmal in some games. Losing to the Patriots for the first time in years. The Bills, you have the game tied 21-21 to get the ball back, and your captain, Zach Sealer, dives into a fucking punter's legs. Like, what are we doing? It just seems mismanaged with the coaching. We looked a little bit better. Our game plan looked better, but it was the Jets. So, I mean, it's like, yeah, we look good against an awful team. So here we are again, where we beat bad teams, lose to good teams. So, happy we won, Sam, because it made my week better, my Monday Night Football watching experience better. But we got ran all over, got lucky in some fumbles. They played horrible with their penalties that set them off back, played like a bad team. We just played like a not as bad team and won. Yeah. So it's going to be interesting to see what they do against another bad team, in my opinion, the Carolina Panthers, which we'll get into. I have a new position in life and in work, and I'm driving more now than I used to. So I'm listening to local sports radio. These guys are bad. They had Joe Rose on the show yesterday from WQAM, who I have met, former Dolphins tight end, of course. And Panther fans actually are not optimistic about this game, even without Tyreek Hill.
Yeah, I mean, I was talking about it the first segment. I mean, Tyreek Hill is not playing in this game, and the Dolphins are still favored coming off of a short week and on the road by 1.5 by Fanduel. I mean, that tells you something about the state of the Carolina Panthers and the minds of the the people that watch this and actually set lines for money to be transferred back and forth when people are gambling. It says that it says more about the Panthers than it does the Miami Dolphins, in my opinion. You can't lose typically if you lose your best player, your most dynamic player, the playmaker of all playmakers in Tyreek Hill, you're not going to be favored, especially on the road, short week. Yet here we are, Miami Dolphins favored in this game, and that's because the Panthers aren't very good. I mean, Bryce Young hasn't done anything to wow anyone in the 3 seasons that he has been in the league, and this is no different. He's completing 60% of his passes. They go for about 5 yards. I mean, it's all close to the best. I mean, his long this year is 40 yards, but his receivers are blah. The rookie looks good, but looks okay. Chuba Hubbard has been banged up. This offensive line has they're kind of like Dolphins in their offensive line, that they have some individual pieces that are grading out well, but as a collective unit, not great. He can fumble the ball. He can throw interceptions. He isn't doing anything that makes you go, we need to put a spy on Bryce Young. We need to absolutely know what he's doing at all times. You kind of want the ball in Bryce Young's hands if you're the Miami Dolphins defense, because I'm not scared of him. I know that sounds disrespectful, but he doesn't scare me if I'm a defender or if I'm a defensive coordinator, or even as a fan watching this team. This entire Carolina Panthers team, both offensively and defensively, Chris, just looks like a team that is a technical NFL team, but they don't scare me at all. I don't know how they beat the freaking Falcons 33-0 2 weeks ago. I was smoke and mirrors, but what we saw against the Patriots week 4 is, I think, more up the alley of the Carolina Panthers right now.
Yeah, it's actually funny. I listen to the sports radio here, and like I'll black out and be like, "Oh yeah, that's totally the Dolphins." I'm like, "Wait, they're talking about the Panthers." We're like very similar. Like Robert Hunt went on the IR, former Miami Dolphin. Their lines band-aided together. They have just off running game here and there. They'll break one, but they have no passing options. Jalen Waddle, I'll take over their number 1 receiver any day. And then I don't even think they have a number 2. Jalen Coker's been hurt for them, from Holy Cross, that like kind of came on the scene last year for them. They have no downfield threat from a tight end. Their linebackers are suspect. JC Horn's their best player by far. They got Derek Brown up front, but if you can double him, there's not really an edge rusher I'm worried about in the Carolina Panthers defense. So that 30-0 Falcons game, I think, was more of an anomaly than, like, it's a divisional game. Yeah. Everything they're talking about is Bryce Young only throws outside the hash marks. He's scared to throw over the middle. So if you got like a Minkah Fitzpatrick, or if we can pressure him to force a bad throw, he's going to. He's a gunslinger, but without like the good side of the gunslinger, if that makes any sense. He's just throwing wild passes, looks scared when he's scrambling. Sound familiar? An Alabama quarterback that's undersized, getting a lot of passes batted down at the line of scrimmage. Sound familiar? And it's just going to be a game of I'm going to be there. So I hope, and I got good seats. I'm behind the visitors bench and the silver club level. So like the section 315, like row 11 or 20. So good seats behind the visitor side. Hopefully a lot of Dolphins fans there. But anytime you can see your favorite players, HN, Waddle, defensive guys, go at it in person, you got to go. And they're only here every 8 years. So I'm expecting a victory from Miami, but I don't think it's going to be a pretty game by either team. It's going to be one of those weird 16-13 victories. And I'm just like, ugh, I should have stayed home.
Yeah, I was looking at this Jets game from Monday night, and the over-under was 44.5, and you had 2 0-3 teams. So I get it. It's a low over-under, and I told everyone, take the over in this game, because sometimes 2 ugly people get together and have a personality. And that was the case in this game. It was so weird to root for like that Garrett Wilson touchdown because the over hit when that happened. I was like, yay, but also please don't score again. This game, when you look on FanDuel, Chris, is also an over-under of 44.5, and I am absolutely leaning towards the under in this game. The Miami Dolphins don't need to come out here with fireworks. They aren't going to be able to even have fireworks with Tyreek Hill not there. I am curious. I said on the show yesterday, they could moneyball this a little bit to where they build Tyreek Hill in the aggregate. Jalen Waddle gets a little bit more. Devon Achane gets a little bit more. Darren Waller's going to see his workload climb as he gets more into football shape. He looked fantastic against the Jets, catching that ball that was, thrown to Cuba, that he was able to pull out of the sky and come back down and toe tap before he fell out of bounds. I think the Miami Dolphins are going to use this game to figure out what the offense looks like without Tyreek Hill. They've only played one game without Tyreek Hill since he came to the Miami Dolphins. People forget he was not part of the original game plan when Mike McDaniel was hired as head coach. Cedric Wilson was the big wide receiver that we signed to pair with Jalen. and he's now back. So we're all the way back at the reset button. Once Tyreek Hill makes himself available, and once you get Tyreek Hill, you do have to keep Tyreek Hill. It's like Randy Moss in his prime. You have to figure out how to get him the ball because he is such a spark plug. But he is out of there, and you're not going to replace that production. As I said yesterday, Tyreek Hill does Tyreek Hill things, and no one else can do that. But I am curious as to what you think the Miami Dolphins are going to do in this game. I've been looking at a lot of footage from Monday night, and they did have a number of reps where they had 22 personnel, 2 running backs, 2 tight ends, and they actually ran the ball in that offense. They actually passed the ball. In fact, the second Darren Waller touchdown was in 22 in a 22 personnel grouping. So it might open up some additional options for the Miami Dolphins, but I don't know that they're going to fully actualize that in a short week with an unsuspecting injury to Tyreek Hill on Monday night. So I think you could see some growing pains, some bumps and bruises along the way as they try to figure out just what the new normal is on offense. But if there's ever a team to kind of unleash it, if you want to call it that, it's going to be the Carolina Panthers. They're terrible against the run. They're top 10 in yardage against when it comes to passing. That's because nobody's passing against this team right now because they can just run it down their throats. So I'm curious to you, what do you want to see or what do you need to see from the Miami Dolphins offense when you'll be there in person in order to say, okay, they have this figured out without Tyreek Hill?
They cannot outthink themselves. Mike McDaniel cannot get cute and try to like, oh, look what I can do without Tyreek Hill and just throw all over this team. Don't do it. Run the football. Get Achane involved. Get Ollie Gordon involved. You get to the second level, and these guys, they have no one to stop them. They were dead last against the run last year. They got Derek Brown back, but it's one player. Run the ball on these guys. I heard an interesting stat on sports radio here. The Panthers in 3 of their 4 games this year have been down by 23 points or more at one point in the game. So they almost came back against the Cardinals with the onside kick, and they were playing, soft defense, but they were just getting blown out by teams. So, yeah, those passing stats are skewed because why are you going to throw the ball if you're up 23 points? You're going to just keep running against the Carolina Panthers. So come out there and run. I'm going to say 2 things here. Achane, I think, is going to have a huge game, and I would take the over. I don't know what FanDuel has it at, but we'll check the over on Malik Washington's production. If he's got, over under 50 yards total, I'm taking the over on that because I think he's going to get involved more with Jalen Waddle getting JC Horn's attention.
Yeah, let's take a look at that. So there are a couple of interesting props here. So one that I think, if look, I was going to do this on the next episode, but let's just do it now. First quarter receiving yards for Jalen Waddle, they have at over under 9.5.
Oh man,
I don't know about you.
Over on that.
But I'm taking the over. I know we're telling them run the ball, run the ball, run the ball, but Jalen Waddle getting 10 yards is one throw, quite literally one throw for Jalen Waddle from Tua Tagovailoa. I think that's easy money. That's what I would do. I would do the over 9.5 for the first quarter for Jalen Waddle there. I don't have Malik Washington on here. I'm going to keep looking, but Devon Achane, first quarter receiving yards, they have at 6.5. That's another one that I think I'm taking the over. I think Achane has proven that he's not only just a scat back, he's a guy that can actually lower his head and just knock some people over. He broke like 3 tackles for his touchdown against the New York Jets. He ran it 19 times. He had 99 yards on the ground, plus everything he does in the passing game. I am a big fan of Achane, more so than I ever have been, watching him the first half of this season or the first quarter of the season. I think I go over on that as well. I don't know that there's going to be a lot of passing yardage in this game from Tua Tagovailoa because of everything we just talked about. We mentioned Ollie Gordon. We mentioned Devon Achane. I'm throwing out a name that we haven't seen. He's been persona non grata. He lost his job, but he is healthy. He's on the bench, and I think you can wear down a Carolina Panthers team by throwing Jalen Wright at them as well. Give the other 2 guys a breather. I think you're going to see 3, maybe 4 different players, maybe 5 different players for the Miami Dolphins running the ball in this game because Malik Washington's out there, to your point. I mean, how pretty was that little flip pass on Monday night to Malik Washington? It was smooth as hell. It looked cool. It got like 12 yards. I mean, everything about it was successful. I want to see a little bit of that. I agree with you. We don't need to be too cute, but a little bit of that would be okay. So Malik Washington, Devon Achane, Ollie Gordon. I'd like to see Jalen Wright. And you know what? Give it to the Alec Ingolds of the world and let him go get a couple of runs as well. Beat up this already depleted line for the Carolina Panthers. Make sure Derek Brown is out of the way. JC Horn, yeah, maybe he does wipe out Jalen Waddle a little bit, but you got Darren Waller there. You got Malik Washington, who is going to be almost exclusively in the slot now that Tyreek Hill is out. I'm interested to see what the Miami Dolphins can do against a team like the Carolina Panthers, because I think they can test some things out. And here's the thing, Chris, I think they can test some things out, make some mistakes, still recover, and walk out victors.
Absolutely, they can. This team's defense is just not good. Ever since they got rid of Chin, all the fans have been complaining about it, that they haven't replaced him. JC Horn, again, is a good player, but they got rid of Thielen right before the season because he wanted to end his career in Minnesota. Hunter Renfrow has a couple of touchdowns, but he's not getting any separation. McMillan, the rookie, is the only one that's taking the top off the defense. So if we just put Minka Fitzpatrick over the top of him, he's out of it. And all they're complaining about here in Charlotte is that there's no one else to throw the football to. And that's a saving grace for Bryce Young in the conversations between the radio hosts and the fans, is that like he literally has one option. And one thing, I'm going to go back to something you mentioned. The talk when the Bills got rid of Stephon Diggs was, oh my God, you get rid of Josh Allen's favorite player, best player. He won the MVP the next year. And there's something we talked about. It's because he didn't feel like he had to get him the ball 11 times. He was able to spread it out and just take what the defense gave him. So without Tyreek Hill, I'm really interested to see if Tua plays a little bit more free, because he's not like worried about feeding Cheetah or hearing it on the sidelines. It's more like, hey, let's just go down there and hit the guy that's open. I don't care who it is, and let's win the game. And I can see that being a plus. Obviously, losing Tyreek Hill is not a plus ever for any team, but like it being a plus as far as the scheme goes, and him playing more free, especially against a bad defense like the Carolina Panthers.
Speaking of bad defense, not to change gears here, but Cam Smith, former Miami Dolphin, was cut finally. And I wanted to get your take on that, because that was the coldest thing I think I've ever seen, when somebody'd asked Mike McDaniel, head coach of the Miami Dolphins, how would you describe Cam Smith's time with the Miami Dolphins? And his response was, time.
Yeah.
I mean, if that's not a coach saying that guy sucked, then I don't know what coach speak actually is, Chris, because that's a window into Mike McDaniel being filtered, but telling you how he really feels at the same time. So I guess goodbye from Perfectville to Cam Smith. I don't know where you'll find yourself again, but hopefully you have a better time with
another
whatever you.
Greer failed, man. Like, just second round pick. Like, what are we doing with these guys? They can't even see the field and help us in a most needed position. Like, how bad do you have to be that you can't even crack the roster for this defensive backfield? I mean, like, Jesus Lord Almighty, after losing Kohu and cutting Nick Needham, like, you think, okay, it's his time to come in and get some reps. Nope. See a time. Time is going to be the quote that's going to be etched on that guy's NFL Wikipedia forever.
Wasn't that a Hootie and the Blowfish song? Time. I mean, Darius Rucker took on a whole new meaning.
Punish me. Yeah, and he went to South Carolina, which he's a huge Gamecock fan.
Well, there you go. So it all ties back together. So I think I already got your prediction, but it is prediction time here. We are getting you all kickoff ready for Week 5, Dolphins, Carolina Panthers. Chris Cullen, the two-time Hall of Famer, the good doctor, is going to be there, boots on the ground. He's going to give you a bird's eye view of what is going on behind the visitors' bench. So what's your final prediction for this game here, Chris? Who do you have winning, and by how much?
I do have Miami winning, and I feel actually very confident about this pick just because I live here in Charlotte, and when the Dolphins aren't playing, I do try to watch their games so I can chat with coworkers or whatever that are fans of the team. They're not that good. Like, they're not that good. We still got weapons, man. Like you said, Waller, Waddle, Achane, Tua. I'm taking literally all four of those guys over the same position on the team we're about to play. And then our pass rush which it hasn't got home much. It did a little bit more on Monday, but this is the type of game where Phillips, Chubb, and Chop all of a sudden are like, well, where's this been all season? Because they've had issues on their offensive line. So I know you said to look at the under here, but unless the Carolina Panthers don't score much at all, I really can see this going the over, with Miami just having a bunch of explosives on the run game, on a quick screen. There's been complaints from fans and radio hosts alike here locally in Charlotte of the bad tackling in Carolina, which is just bodes awful for them against speedsters like that we have. So I'm going to go with Miami 33 and the Panthers 10 to keep it at the under.
Ooh, look at you going with the big win. for the Miami Dolphins against the Carolina Panthers on the road.
Hey, I'm going to be there in person. I need a really good game, okay? And I got the Sun DD in, so it's going to be fun.
So Chris is going with the under of 44.5 with that score, and he's going with the Miami Dolphins to cover that 1.5 point favor. I'm going to say the Miami. I wasn't going to give my prediction, but if you're doing it, I'm doing it. If you're showing yours, I'm going to show mine. I don't see the Miami Dolphins scoring that many points simply because I still think there are some problems on defense, and they do have to figure out what the new offense is going to look like. I do think they'll be conservative and a little bit of ball control, but I do think the Miami Dolphins are going to score into the 20s. I have this 24-10. I don't see the Carolina Panthers scoring a whole lot on this Miami Dolphins defense, not because the Dolphins defense is that good, but because the Panthers offense is that bad. I think the Miami Dolphins cover. I think they win. I also have them on the under. I might change it. I might change it a little bit, but right now I'm feeling 24-10 Miami Dolphins. Either way, it looks like the Miami Dolphins, at least according to Chris and myself, are going to be walking out of this stadium along with Christopher Cullen at 2-3 and getting themselves ready for an AFC matchup against the LA Chargers the week after that. But we'll deal with that when we deal with that. For now, Doctor, it's been fantastic seeing you here in the town of Perfectville, where you practiced, where you got your law degree, your doctor degree, your everything degree, your Hall of Fame jacket. Good to see you here. Anything else you want to say before we wrap up this very special episode of Perfectville?
Good to be seen, and glad I'm not dead.
Glad you're not dead. Glad you're out of jail. Yep. Yeah. And again, nobody's perfect except us. So on behalf of the two-time Hall of Famer, myself, the entire BLEAV Network, presented by Fanduel, the only thing left to say is goodbye from Perfectville.
Later.
That's how you do it.